Hussein.
Hello, brother.
How are you?
Good. It's great to see you. Thank you for coming on. I
Yes,
know it's a little late for you over there, huh?
it's all right. It's about a little after 11 o'clock.
All right. Well, I watched your video this morning about the situation in Afghanistan, and I think it was a we're all reacting. We're all shocked. We all don't know what to think. We all feel bad. We all feel guilty. We all feel scared. And I kind of think that sometimes maybe we're talking out of that reaction. But your video, when I watched your video, it seemed like you kind of put a little bit of hudud, a little bit of a boundary on what we should think, because I think, and so that kind of interested me, and so I really would like for you to share with us your view about what's happening right now. And I know that there's many different. We could look at it from many different perspectives. For instance, the political situation of America, the return of Sharia law, and what that means for us, those of us who are speaking about Islam. And so I welcome you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Well, listen. This will be a discussion back and forth because I'll go ahead and introduce and say what I have to say, and then I want you to react to it. But before we say too much about Afghanistan, let's make sure that those of you and are we live now?
Yes, we are.
So those who are listening, what I'm going to say about Afghanistan in no way suggests that I have that I am an expert on Afghanistan. I grew up my whole life, my first 17 years of my life, right next to Afghanistan. I understand it I understand it probably better than most people because I understand the people, I understand the place, I understand the background. But let me just, from the get-go, let's be very careful that if we're going to talk about Afghanistan, do not take what's happening in Afghanistan yesterday or today or even what's been happening in the last 2 months and whitewash Islam with those events. That's all I'm going to start with that because we need to say that. What is happening in Afghanistan is unique. It really is a country that is different than any other. Afghanistan is well known for being a unique place, and it will have ramifications for that country more so than for any other. Now, what I'm hearing everybody saying is, we told you so. This is the end. This is the beginning of Armageddon. This is going to affect the whole world, and we're going to be impinged on that. And I think we need to shut that narrative down, Hussein. I think we need to be very careful that we don't telescope what's happening in Afghanistan to the rest of the world. This is the reason that we were even in Afghanistan. Have people forgotten why we went to Afghanistan? We went there basically out of revenge. Am I correct?
That's right.
We did not go there to build a nation. We did not go there to create a government. That did come about after we were there. We were there because of 9/11, and we need to admit that. I get tired of everybody suggesting that America was in Afghanistan for any other reason. There was only one reason we went there, and that was to get Osama bin Laden and Ayman Zawahiri. Now, Ayman Zawahiri has died, so we've never got him. But to shut down and to basically get retribution for the 2,000 people that were killed on 9/11. Having gone to Afghanistan as a knee-jerk reaction back in 2001, remember, it was a knee-jerk reaction by Bush out of anger. Everybody was with him on that. There was I don't know of anybody, very few people that objected to us going to Afghanistan. I was shocked at the time in 2001 when we went. And I was saying, I remember, and I've said this many times before, by going to Afghanistan, we will, in some ways, we will rue the day that we're finally going to have to leave. Every president since then has been trying to pull us out of Afghanistan, especially once Osama bin Laden was killed under Obama's administration. So once he was killed, that was the end of that was really the end of the whole story. That should have been, we should have pulled out at that time, but we didn't because of the need, the desire to nation build. But since when can you build a nation of basically a nation that's made up of many different tribal groups, primary amongst them the Pashtuns, and the Pashtuns are the ones that control the Taliban. The Taliban are the Taliban. The Taliban are students of what? They are students of Islam. The Taliban have always come out of, most of them have come out of northern Pakistan. And remember, I think we need it. This is why we always need to look at history to see why even Afghanistan exists. Afghanistan is an artificial country that was created by the British back in the last century when they were leaving India, when they were leaving what was then Pakistan, Bangladesh, India and Bangladesh was all one country. Afghanistan was up to the northwest. They, in a map room there in London, they actually drew the lines of where the borders would be. And when they drew the lines of the borders there in London, they did not look to see if where the people lived. They didn't really care diddly squat where the tribes were. They were looking at natural borders. They were looking at rivers and mountain ranges, and they just followed the rivers. And what they did was they drew a line between Pakistan and Afghanistan right through the Pashtun tribe, so that half of the Pashtuns were in Pakistan and the other half were in Afghanistan. Now, this is not new what I'm saying here. We've said this, I've said it before. As a result of that, we cut the Pashtuns in half, the tribe in half. And that is why from the time of the independence, the Pashtuns have always seen themselves as an entity that was always more conservative than any other group and much more warlike. And the British were the ones that said it. If you look back at the old British textbooks that came out before 1947, they said over and over again, the one people that have never been able to be conquered were the Pashtuns. The Taliban are made up of Pashtuns. And it's the Pashtuns, you can see their dress with their long robes and the turbans that they have. That is Pashtun dress. Some of the younger ones have caps, the caps that go this way and go this way. That is Pashtun dress. They all wear beards, and they all are notoriously independent. They don't believe in any authority over top of them. They only have one authority, and that is Allah himself. And historically, they have always been independent, and historically, they have always been violent. And historically, they have always lived in the mountains. They are mountainous people. They do not live in cities. And this is why what's happening right now as we're watching, we need to be careful that this form of Islam that is, yes, it is radical. Yes, it does pin its whole history and its nature and its background back to the Prophet Muhammad, and they do give lip service to it. It is very much a form of Islam that is geared towards a very rural, mountainous, rough terrain. They are not known at all for negotiations. They are not at all they have never been known for accommodating anybody. They do not like any authority other than themselves. And that's why they are the worst people to build nations, especially Afghanistan. So I think we need to be careful about wringing our hands and thinking that this is going to be somehow a spread of Islamic fundamentalism around the world. They are saying, and there are a few of them that have said that they do want to take over the whole world. I know David Wood blew that one way out of proportion. Stop and think, how can they take over anything more than what they've got? They don't have the means to do so. They don't produce any of the weapons they use. Did you look at the picture? The picture that's become now the most famous picture of that group of men there in the presidential palace sitting around a desk. That picture right there. Take a look at that picture there. What do you see is wrong with that picture? Let me show you a few things. Notice those men don't belong in that room, do they? Those men have never probably have never had desks like that or light fixtures like that. And look at the guns that they're holding. Those are all M16s. Those are all American guns. They don't produce American guns. They're not going to be able to get bullets for them and be able to repair them and get new ones once those are no longer usable. They have a stockpile of weapons right now, but for them, they are totally dependent on foreign goods, even to maintain their lifestyle. And that's why you're going to see an enormous amount of problems for the Pashtun, because they're great at warfare, they're great at violence, they're great at living in rural environment, but they're absolutely hopeless at maintaining not just ruling, but maintaining urban structures, which Kandahar and Kabul and Lashkar and these other cities, these are huge urban structures that they have never lived in before, and they won't be able to. And many of them, I would suggest, will start to filter back into the mountains again because they have got what they want. But I don't think that we have to be too concerned that this is going to go beyond Afghanistan. The reason it's all over the news tonight right now is not really the Taliban that everybody's talking about. It's the stupidity of Biden and how this got completely out of control, and the stupidity of the military, Pentagon leaders. The American military sometimes you have to shake their head, because almost everything they did in Iraq, what they did in what they have done in Afghanistan, they do not understand Islam, and they do not understand the pride people have in not only their country, but also in their religion. And that's why we have made mistake after mistake after mistake. Listen, us 25 years in London, I couldn't believe how inept the police were when it came to Muslims. I couldn't believe how inept the politicians were when it came to Muslims. They just don't understand how Muslims think. Hussein, you understand it because you're a man of God. Most of our military, most of our politicians are not men and women of God, and therefore they don't understand the power that the will of God can have in motivating a people to, in this case, take back their country. They have taken back their country. That's all they want, is to remain and to be able to take and use and be able to have their own independence and get rid of any foreign powers. And that's why they have succeeded. Notice they're not going and shooting up all the others. In fact, Kabul is very peaceful. Even tonight, all the chaos is happening at the airport. And the reason it's happening at the airport is because everybody wants to leave. Because everybody that is there does not want to live under a Taliban regime, because the Taliban are very rural, they are very provincial, and they do rule by a very strict code, of which is based on the Prophet Muhammad's own example himself from the 7th century. And they will bring that code back again. And that's why everybody wants to leave. And that we should be concerned about. And that is worth us talking about. And that we must somehow, we don't know, there's no way we can stop that, because Afghanistan is a country unto itself. And one thing that Biden did say in his speech today that does make sense, and he said it very clearly: if the Afghanis are not even willing to defend their own country, then why should we be putting our bodies in the way and having young men and women, American men and women, die for a country that is not even willing to die for itself? That was probably the best thing he said. But he has done nothing any different than what Trump would have done, or any different than what Obama would have done, or anything different than what Bush would have done before them. They all wanted to pull the U.S. troops out of Afghanistan. Because why are we in Afghanistan? Hussein, what is there for us there? Opium. There's no oil there. There's nothing there. There's not even a country that has any products that we want or that we could trade. It is nothing more than revenge is why we're in Afghanistan. And that's why the American people are fed up with sending all these young men and all these women to die. And now we see die for a country where their own people aren't willing to die for them.
One thing that I can hear my echo. Do you have the YouTube on?
I said again, am I what?
Do you have the YouTube on? Because I can hear myself when I'm talking.
Okay, here.
Okay. One thing that I was talking to somebody else. I was talking to Emmanuel Shahid. I'm not sure. He's been on my program. He's an Afghan veteran, a veteran from Afghanistan, and he's a believer, an ex-Muslim too. And one thing, and let me just throw this out there and see what you think. But almost immediately when America said they're leaving, the Taliban began going after young girls for their fighters. And there's the reports of the 12-year-old girls. And then we also have this. If I can show you this. This is the, and I'm sure they were doing stuff like this. I'm sure they were doing stuff like this before as well. But let me just show you. I want to show you. Okay, this right here. This was on a particular website, and somebody shared it on Facebook, and it says Taliban demands girls above 15, widows under 45 to be married to their fighters. Taliban demands girls, the militant insurgency group fighting with Afghanistan forces, to gain control. Okay, so what I was thinking, and maybe I have a wrong thought, is that even though the Americans weren't they weren't there to take over the country or anything like that, just their mere presence prevented this. And as soon as they left, it was like, oh, carte blanche, we're back to Sharia again. And that the presence of American soldiers, even though there's only 2,500 of them, and there's some Germans and some British too, it wasn't a huge force, but just the mere presence of that prevented the country from spiraling into a Sharia land. And I'm wondering, wasn't that something worth it? I can't hear you now.
I think this is one of the, and I have to be careful what I say here because I know some people would object, and I'm sure people will get angry at what I'm going to say next. And I think that has to do with the will of the American people. The American people, I think, are fed up with policing the world. We have policed the world since the Second World War. And most Americans I talk to, when you ask where should we be and what should we be doing, they said, well, we should be protecting our own borders, which obviously is not happening right now. We should also be creating jobs for our own people, not having jobs move out overseas. Our government should be maintaining policies that bring about freedom and happiness for all. But since the Second World War, the U.S. has been involved in I don't know how many foreign campaigns. And anytime you go on a foreign campaign, body bags come back. And it's our body bags that come back. It's our sons and our daughters that come back in those body bags. And we have been involved in Korea. We've been involved in Vietnam. We've been involved in Grenada. We've been involved in, of course, Afghanistan now for 20 years. And we've been involved in Iraq. It seems like every major war has been United States involved in it. And what thanks do we get for those wars? None. What finances do we get? Who pays us back for any of them?
We're not going to get any.
Nobody. And I think Americans are getting fed up with having to police the world. Anytime there's a conflict, they want the American military there. And I think this is the difficulty that an awful lot of people overseas don't understand. I lived in Europe for 25 years, and I got fed up with the Europeans always blaming America for getting involved in every conflict. And I said, well, why aren't you involved in it then? Where is your military? Where are your body bags? What have you paid? What taxes are going towards all these conflicts? America is the only country that has 13 aircraft carriers, 10 of which are on the seas at any given time. What are those aircraft carriers doing? How are those aircraft carriers protecting us in America? They're not. They're keeping the sea lanes open so the rest of the world could have products that are sent all over the world. How do you think Trade happens. The only way that trade happens and that the ships can get through the Straits of Malacca and can get through all of these dangerous spots is because we have aircraft carriers there. With every aircraft carrier, there are 24 ships that have to maintain every one of those aircraft carriers. Who pays for all of that? We do. Nobody else pays for that. Philippines doesn't pay for it. Japan doesn't pay for us keeping their waterways open. The South China Seas now, where China is trying to get in, who is the one that has to just who sent their ships there to keep the South China Seas open in just the last 2 months? It was America and the United Kingdom. And the UK and America have pretty much done the lion's share of maintaining open trade, maintaining the sea lanes, and also of protecting the world whenever there is an atrocity. And that's why I think, whether you like it or not, and whether you're going to get angry or not, Americans are fed up of always maintaining the policing of the world. I remember about a number of years ago in Afghanistan, 17 Italians lost their lives way up in the north of Afghanistan, and they brought the body bags back, and there was 3 days of mourning, or maybe it was a whole week of mourning in Italy for these 17 that lost their lives. And all over the reports that day was that the whole country was in mourning because this is the first time any Italian had lost their lives since the Second World War. And I said, holy goodness. This is all that Italy's ever had. This is the only lives lost by Italy since the Second World War. And we had how many lost in Vietnam? What, 30,000 lost in Vietnam? How many lost in Korea? I mean, just add up the number of people that we have lost around the world. And yet nobody says thank you to the United States for that. And I think this is why the presidents, Bush, Obama, also Trump, and also Biden, we're reading the polls correctly. Americans were fed up. We're fed up with what happened in 2001. We're fed up with what has happened in the last 20 years in Afghanistan. We're fed up with what happened in Iraq. Remember, in Iraq, I remember at Speaker's Corner, I would get it in the neck from the Muslims there, saying the only reason we're in Iraq was because of the oil. And I remember asking them, who in the world controls the oil wells right now? Who are the ones that are drilling? Who has actually received all of the biddings? Who actually bid for those oil wells and now is maintaining those wells? Do you know who is getting the profit from all those oil wells? Do you know, Hussein?
The
French.
Our oil companies.
Which oil companies, though, are the ones that actually do the digging and actually maintain and get the oil out of the grounds? Not the American oil companies. It's the French oil companies.
Oh.
What did the French do? What did the French do to shut down Hussein? What did the French do in the war in Iraq against ISIS? Where did you see any French jets or any French body bags or any French soldiers being killed to free Iraq from ISIS? Do you remember any?
I remember their resistance to
exactly. And yet,
go to Iraq.
Irony of irony, who are the ones who received all the received all the jobs for keeping those who have gone back and basically picked up where they left off? So, people need to be careful about the criticism that they're always giving about how we must maintain nation building, and we must bring it coming to every conflict. And I hear what you're saying, Hussein. There is going to be a lot of despotism going on. There is going to be an awful lot of breakdown of what has been gained. Schools are probably going to have to close. Women are going to now have to stay indoors. There's going to be all kinds of atrocities like we saw with ISIS. But unless the rest of the world is willing to go and put their men and their women in front of harm's way, I think the rest of the world has to realize that America has paid its share since the Second World War. Nobody has paid as much as far as finances. Nobody has paid as much as far as lives lost. And not a cent has been given back. We've not received anything for shutting down ISIS. We've not received a penny. But look at all the personnel, look at all the material, military material that was had to be forked out for all that. And I think this is why we need to be careful about always suggesting that America should be there to maintain a type of society that we appreciate. Absolutely, I would love to say that Afghanistan should jump into the 21st century, but it is the Afghanis that have to make that decision, not us. And it is Afghanis that are going to have to fight their own battles, no longer us. The only countries I'm a little concerned for right now are Pakistan and India, because they are on the borders with Afghanistan. And I think it's the India and Pakistan that need to be careful now as to how they're gonna step up, because really that is their responsibility, not ours anymore. And in some ways, I'm glad that we have pulled out. What I think is shameful is the way we did pull out. What I think is shameful was just how inept we have proven to be in understanding.
Before you go on to that, I just want to maybe push back a little bit on what you're saying, just because, and I'm open to being corrected. I'm just wondering, about us being the policemen of the world. And I know we're not the policemen of the world. We don't, and people don't want us to be, or some people, some do. But, I wonder if we have been so blessed. We've been so blessed in this country. And we have a system, an economy, a political system, a education system, a governmental system that works. And these other countries don't, and I wonder if
right there, which other countries don't?
Probably most a lot of these third world countries. I know they call Emmanuel was on today. He says Afghanistan's not even called the third world; it's called the fifth world country.
Hussein, I'm not talking about other countries. I'm not talking about third world countries. I'm talking about European countries. I'm talking about countries that are just as wealthy as we are, percentage-wise, and will not step up and do their fair share. And that's why that's why I give that example of Italy. What has Italy done in all these years? What has France done in all these years? What has Germany done? What has done any of these European countries done? Why is it only America has to fork the bill? And why is it we have to lose our young men and our young women? I don't see Germans losing anybody. And the only other country that has come alongside us and has helped us out has been the United Kingdom. Britain is the only ones that have been a fair share. And that's why I think it's about high time that other countries, look at Japan. What has Japan done? They have an economy that's thriving. Yet they haven't sent any troops. They haven't lost any, well, they may have lost one or two here, but they haven't lost on the scale that we have, or that Britain has lost. And that's why I think it's high time for the rest of the world to start. I'm not asking for third world countries to do it. I'm not asking for African countries to do it. They don't have the wherewithal, but the other countries do. There are many other countries that could certainly be carrying on that role.
I just wanted to, I don't know if you want to respond to this. There is a message to you right here. It says, from Quran 19:21, we Allah appoint Jesus as a sign unto mankind and a mercy from us. It is a matter decreed. All Muslims need to pay heed to this decree of Allah. J. Smith, why not promote such verses of the Quran? Would you like to respond to that, or to stay on subject?
No, I mean, we do that. I must say, Muslim, we do both, and I think that both have to go simultaneously. But we're not talking about that right now. We're not talking about evangelism. We're not talking about trying to debate Muslims here and there as to what is the word of God. What we're talking about is a crisis that's unfolding before our eyes. And we need to come up with some type of, not only some type of response to it, but also I think we need to be wise in how we respond.
I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you a picture from today. This picture shows two guys who were thieves, and their faces are black because they were tarred, and they did a huge parade through town. There was a video of it, and I assume they're thieves, that they're going to go get their hands cut off right now. And
that comes right out of the Quran. That's in chapter 5, verse 38. cut off the hands of the thief. So they're obeying the Quran. And this is, I mean, this is a whole other subject, and we can go and we can segue into that. And that is, now that Afghanistan is under the Taliban control, I think it would be interesting. We're going to have, as we did with ISIS back in 2014. Remember, Hussein? I remember going down to Speaker's Corner, getting up on the ladder and saying, finally, we have a country that is following Muhammad's example. As much as you hate to see what's going on, we can finally say, Islam, Muslims, those of you who are here, this is what Muhammad did. Everything that ISIS did, you can quote scripture after scripture, like those two men there. Now, in chapter 5, verse 38, doesn't say tar them. It says to cut off their hands. And I'm sure, as you said, the fact that you were sure that they're going to have their hands cut off, that comes from the Quran itself. And I think this will help those of us who are trying to engage with Islam or Muslims here in the West, who keep on saying that Islam is a religion of peace, that Islam is the answer for today, that Islam is, and the Islam they're talking about is the Islam of Muhammad. Well, the Taliban are probably going to be probably an even better example than ISIS, because they will be doing it in situ. They will be doing it in a context where they have been in existence for generations, for centuries. And that's why it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It'll also, I think, for the first time, or maybe the second time, it will show the underbelly of Islam as never before. So these kind of scenes, you're going to see many more of them. You are correct. There will probably be lots of girls who will be raped and also given to men. As they did with ISIS, they'll even have a price for each girl as to their age. And the younger they are, the more expensive they are. And you'll be seeing bartering going on. You'll see, like we did with ISIS, girls in cages. And I think this is something that we're going to have to get used to. It's going to be difficult for us. And I can see even your reaction there, Hussein. It's difficult for you to think about it. Yet this is what Islam does. And this is how Islam has always gained power. They do it through fear, they do it through intimidation, and they do it through violence. And I don't just mean violence of cutting off hands, also violence against women's body. And I think for many Muslims who are around the world who have always been saying that Islam is the solution for today, they're ruining what is happening in Afghanistan, because they're going to have to defend that now. How would you defend it if you were a Muslim? And if Muslims are listening, how are you going to defend those kind of pictures when you know that those pictures are coming straight out of your Quran? They're coming straight out of the example of Muhammad himself. They're coming straight out of a 7th century model, which the Taliban are well known for supporting.
Here's another picture that it says, Afghanistan's all-girls robotics team frantically trying to flee the Taliban. A human rights lawyer trying to help the girls get to Canada to continue their education fears for their safety after Taliban takes control of the country.
What does robotics team mean? I don't even know what that is.
I think it's I think these girls were actually working on robotic technology, helping.
Okay. These were female scientists then.
Yes. And,
yeah, I mean, we're going to have to follow what's happening, because right now there's an enormous amount of chaos. And you saw the pictures of those bodies falling off that airplane. They were in the wheel, and so the wheels were brought up. They fell to the ground, and they all died. I think they said about 7 died. I think we're going to see more of these kind of pictures. It reminds me of Vietnam. You probably aren't old enough. I remember seeing the exact same things. That helicopter on the top of the American embassy. The struggle for people to get on board anything they could. We did. There's the picture right there. I think that came from my video I put up earlier yesterday. There's Saigon on the left. There's Kabul on the right. April 29th, 1975, August 15th, 2021. I wanted to make sure that I got 2 helicopters, and you can see that's the famous picture. You can see the fellow there pulling and helping people to get up on top of the roof there. Most of those people who were in that line did not make it off that roof, and most of them were killed. That's the backstory to that picture. You can see most of those people who you saw running after that C-17 aircraft, military aircraft, did not get on board. But did you see the pictures inside the C-17?
It was like sardines on top of each other and everything.
640 people just crammed in, and the crew did not know what to do. They just finally had to take off, overloaded. And I think that's the desperation of what we're seeing. Because for Afghans who have been given 20 years of freedom, 20 years of possibility of education, of nature, you're right, of Western environment, to suddenly, within just 3 days, all that being destroyed, you can see the desperation. And that's the tragedy of what we're seeing right now. That is unfolding. And we're going to see more of it.
This is also another picture. This was on Al Fadi posted this, and so
Yeah, I got this one this morning.
now is this real?
Yeah, this I can't say is real. I called up some of my friends who are in Afghanistan. They have just actually, they're not in today. They are actually in Hong Kong at the moment. So I called them up yesterday, and see, Kabul fell yesterday, but Kandahar fell earlier, and so did Lashkar. It fell much earlier. And those cities have been under Taliban control for about a month now to 3 weeks. And there are Christians there. We have Christian leaders, house group leaders that are there. I can't say any more than that. I'm not permitted to. But they have been in contact, and they're saying that they are being targeted, but so far they're keeping under the radar, and so far they have not been hurt. What the retribution that they see happening around them is mostly those Afghans who were supporting U.S. soldiers, and most of them would be not Taliban, Afghani soldiers that belong to the military. Now, that may happen that they will start targeting Christians, but when asked, what is it you're going to do? The Christian leaders almost uniformly said, we are remaining, and we are trusting in Jesus Christ. And that's why we need to pray for them, because they are the ones that are going to feel the full brunt of the Taliban. Not immediately, because I think the Taliban have an awful lot of retribution that they're going to bringing down, and that retribution would be mostly against the military and the politicians.
You know, I'm wondering if you can tell me, because I really, to my shame, I'm ashamed to say this, that, you know, I really don't know the situation in Afghanistan in terms of Christian population. Can you tell me something about that? Has there been any kind of revival, any kind of, because you know what I'm thinking.
Jose, I can't say too much because we do know an awful lot more than what I'm willing to say. That's all. I don't dare say any more than that.
Yeah.
There are Christian brothers and sisters. There is a whole church movement, underground church movement that has been there for years, and those are the ones we need to pray for.
You know, because one thing that I've seen, in my limited experience, like in China, they decided to clamp down on the church and to, this iron fist approach with the church, and the church was driven underground. But then when it came out from underground, it became the biggest Christian country in the world. 100 million Christians are there. And then if you look in like Iran, based on their, the survey they did of 33,000 people, over half of the people said they left Islam and I think it's largely because of the mullahs and the government there, to where sometimes a situation like this actually causes the church to grow, and
I would say sometimes, I think always. I think the last 2,000 years has borne that out. But many people have said this. When you look at the last 2,000 years of our history, look and see where we've grown the fastest. It's always been under persecution. Why should we be surprised when Christ promised that? And that's exactly what happened in the first century. It's happening in the 21st century. Now, it's easy for us to say that because we are living here in the United States. We're under protection of our governments. I'm in Central America at the moment, and even here in Central America, I feel absolutely safe. And so it's easy to say those people are under persecution. What we need to be careful is that we hold them up before the Lord, because though they are under persecution, the Lord will protect them, and he will maintain his church there. And that's been the beauty of the last 2,000 years. And I would agree with you, Hussein. After the cloud settles and the smoke settles and goes away, I think what you're going to see is an even stronger church, a much bigger church, because that's the DNA of Christianity. You're showing pictures of people who are trying to get on the gangplank. None of those people got in that plane. But that's sheer desperation there. That's the same image taken from two different standpoints.
Yesterday I wanted to do something about this situation. I felt I needed to say something about it, and as I started speaking about it, what I put on was a video. I don't know if you know Linda Sarsour. She was she's a big
big
but
one.
and she was at a CARE conference or something like that, and she was saying, why is there so much hate about the word Sharia? The word Sharia, all it means is that we pray 5 times a day, we fast during Ramadan, and all you hear about is it's about stoning women and cutting off hands. and she was just pushed, and she says, and there's another word that the media and the haters always use, Islamophobes, and that is the word jihad. And she's saying the best jihad, according to the Prophet, was to speak truth to power. And, and I just wanted to contrast that, she's telling Americans that Sharia is just about how I want to follow my religion. But, I'm an ex-Muslim, and I know something about Sharia, that I'm supposed to be killed if there's Sharia law. But she's not going to talk about that. But I'm thinking this situation right now,
it's going to be for her, and it's people like Sarsour who are going to be are going to have the most difficult time now trying to persuade people that Islam is anything but a very violent religion. Sharia law, as long as she has an American audience who don't know what Sharia is and haven't studied the 4 laws of fiqh, the Hanbali, the Hanafi, the Shafi, and the Maliki schools, which and you have personal experience with, she can get away with those kind of comments. And that's why she's a media darling, because she is bringing the narrative that the media wants. And the media wants a Islam that is very westernized, that is basically is no different than Christianity. But that's not the Islam of the Taliban. That's not the Islam of Muhammad. That's not the Islam of ISIS. And that's not the Islam of the 7th century. It's not the Islam of the Quran. And so she's going to, you can fool everybody some of the time and some people all the time, but you can't fool everybody all the time. I think that in some ways, the Taliban is going to be a silver bullet for her, that she's going to rue the death, because she no longer can make those kind of statements when we're going to be seeing the reality of Sharia law on a daily basis with pictures that you've just showed earlier. We're going to see many more of those kind of pictures, unfortunately.
Brother Jay, I have a friend who's from Pakistan. Would you mind if I brought him on? Are you?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, Adam, I don't know if you're still on. I know that you were on a few minutes ago, but if you're on, could you come on? And just because Pakistan plays a really big role in what's happening right now. And, one thing I heard, and maybe I could present this to you, is that now ISIS is going to come back and Al-Qaeda is going to come back. Only they're going to come back stronger. And what do you say about that? I know you're kind of like against the fear mongering, but I mean, they're going to have a place to go.
I would be surprised. First and foremost, the Taliban do not love ISIS. And remember, the Taliban are uniquely for Afghanistan. The Taliban do not have a world encompassing, they do not really care about the rest of the world. They want to make sure that their tribal land is under an Islamic invention. There might be some leaders. Remember, within the Taliban, there are 7 different leaders, none of whom love each other. There's a huge amount of disunity within the Taliban itself. And the Taliban have pushed aside these differences in order to get the Americans out. And they knew they were just biding their time. Now that the Americans have gone, you're going to see the Taliban now imploding upon themselves. They're going to be in an awful lot of infighting. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an awful lot of infighting. I doubt very much that they're going to invite ISIS. But really, what are they going to invite them to? What is ISIS? What can ISIS do in Afghanistan? They're much more effective outside of Afghanistan, especially if they are nothing more than underlords for those who are already there.
Welcome, Adam. How are you?
Thank you. Welcome and great show, Jay. You're doing an awesome job.
Hi, Adam. I don't think we've met before.
I think
Long time ago.
when you came to my program the last time, Brother Adam came, he's got a really great live stream that is reaching Pakistan. And he's getting death threats from Pakistan. And sorry, maybe that's not the best way to say it, but he's doing an awesome
Love
job.
letters, love letters, love letters.
Is that why his image is one of a target?
Exactly, brother. Because I'm an ex-Muslim from a um, Sayyid caste of Islam, as you probably know what that is. So um, my life is awesome.
Where are you, Adam? Where do you live? Not
I'm out.
specifically, but which country are you in?
I'm out of Pakistan. Let's just put it this way for the time being.
Okay,
Um,
you're not in Pakistan now. That's good.
And that, yes, that is good. But yeah, I just finished my live stream where I was showing, I don't know whether you would agree with me or not, but based on my experience in Pakistan, and that is the same in Afghanistan as well, the metropolitan cities, if you remove the metropolitan cities, the urban population or the villager population in Pakistan and in Afghanistan, they want Sharia, they want Islamic rules, they want all of this which is happening.
Yeah.
And you know, how many metropolitan cities are in Pakistan? I can name them on my finger: Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore, Multan, and Gujranwala, and all that. So you remove like these 10 major cities or 12 major cities, the rest want Sharia. You tell me. uh, they they want, they were support. Pakistan had a fight with so-called, I would say, so-called Taliban for over 10 years. Who supported them? The local population. Why were they not able to get them for over 10 years? Because the local population were supporting them. Same is the case when these Talibans went into Kabul. Kabul had the people who loved their life, who loved the life of others. They were not the people as in true Muslims. So Kabul never even resisted. This so-called prime minister would not do anything with these people. He knew that. He fled. So what I'm saying is simple. We are thinking that we are saving Afghanistan. No, we are saving maybe less than 20% of the population of Afghanistan. That's all. The rest wants it.
Yeah, and I would suggest that this is going to be a real problem for Pakistan. I don't know if you were listening to us earlier, Adam. We brought this up, and I said that the difficulty now is mainly the countries around Afghanistan. India will not, of course. India will resist. I don't know how long Pakistan will resist, because, as you say, the majority of people would support the Taliban, and that would be those, especially in Waziristan in the northern part, the frontier parts. That's where the Pashtun are, and the Pashtun are really the Taliban are from the Pashtun area.
Exactly, and I totally agree with you 110%, because the borderline of Afghanistan is so huge. We don't even have barbed wires for the whole border. Number one, number two, these people support, and then there is a called ilaka called ilaka ghair. I don't know how to translate it in English, but in that particular area, ilaka ghair, if you are not on the main road, even the police cannot defend you. Full stop. You are done deal. So this is called Ilaka Ghair. As soon as you cross Peshawar, there is a gate. As soon as you cross that gate, it says fully that you are on the government land as long as you are on the government highway. You get away from the highway, we are not going to be able to protect you in any way or form. And that Ilaka Ghair, you can do anything in there, and these Talibans comes there, get the equipment, and they make guns and bullets in house in that area. And I've seen that first handedly, FYI. Okay, so this is Pakistan as an army and as a country. will face a lot of trauma from there, because these people will come from there and they will spread, and they don't look different, right? They look similar to the Pakhtun area people, so you can't even identify them. They speak the same language, they look the same, they wear the same. You can't even catch them. It's impossible. And they will go into different areas and they will do things.
Um, I don't know if you were listening. We talked about how Afghanistan and Pakistan, the borders were actually created in London, and the borders were created by map makers who were more interested in rivers and ridges than they were in peoples. And so when Afghanistan had its southern border created in London, it went right through the Pashtun tribe. So half of the Pashtun tribe was in Afghanistan, the other half was in Waziristan and northern frontier. And as a result, that's why the Pashtun have been able to go back and forth across the border. And whenever the Americans would chase them, they couldn't chase them any further. They would just go into Pakistan. So, I mean, it's good, Adam, that we have someone like you who is from that area, who understands it, who is aware of it, and can also then speak to it. So you need to speak up and say and help the rest of us who are not from that area, who are also do not know the historical background, to help us to understand what's going to happen next. Because I would agree with you that this is going to have a huge effect on Pakistan, on your country.
If I could, I just want to interrupt just for 1 second. There was in the New York Times today. There was two opinions. One is the fact that the Taliban took over so fast is proof that we should have gotten out as fast as we could. But then there was another column by a guy named Richard Haass, who was a member of the a Foreign Affairs Committee or something. But he wrote something, and I'd like to get your opinion on it, both of your opinions on it, because it's about Pakistan and Afghanistan. He said, over time, there is the added danger that the Taliban will seek to extend its writ meaning its Sharia, to much of Pakistan. If so, it would be hard to miss the irony, as it was Pakistan's provision of a sanctuary to the Taliban for so many years that allowed it to wage war. Now it is possible that if Afghanistan will become a sanctuary for taking the war to Pakistan, potentially a nightmare situation given Pakistan's fragility, large population, nuclear arsenal, and history of war with India. Could I get your opinion about that?
No,
I think that's an astute assessment of what exactly is the problem right there. And I think we need to, and Adam can speak to it better than I can because he is from Pakistan. I'm from India, Jai Hind Zindabad. And I will do it from the Indian standpoint. But go ahead, Adam. Why don't you speak first?
There's a lot of truth over here said in a very short passage, FYI. Do you guys know about Hayatabad? Probably you would know about Hayatabad. It's Hayatabad. It's in Peshawar. It's an outskirt of Peshawar. There are, I have links there. Let me just put it this way: blood links there. So I know first-handedly that it's not Pakistan which is supporting it when these Taliban came in. He was supporting it. Pakistan was supporting it when the Russians had invaded it because they wanted to support Taliban. Yes, they provided everything, and you guys know the story, and we know it inside when we were living there. Now the situation is it went offhand. It went beyond their control. So they lost the control. Why? Because just like you said, that they have family ties inside Afghanistan. These people over here on this side of the border has family ties, blood ties inside there. Yes, the Pashtun belt. So they support them, they bring them here, then they hide them, and then they move them away from Afghanistan. And when you say away from Afghanistan, you have to send them up north a little, where you have more of the less of the police influence and more of their own influence. And if you would go to those areas, you would not be able to distinguish whether it's Afghanistan or it's Pakistan, because they speak the same language. You have the same kind of burqas, you have same everything. Peshawar, because it's becoming more and more metropolitan, in the last 20 years have evolved. So they don't remain in Peshawar. They go up north towards Mardan, towards more up north towards Mardan and all that areas, and they have so many places to hide there. It's impossible for you or me or police or army or aeroplane or anything to figure out where they are hiding. And they have machine gun makings over there. They have guns. They have everything there. It's Pakistan is at a verge of a collapse because of this. Like, seriously speaking, if some foreign intervention would not happen, Pakistan is facing a war between India and internal war because of Afghanistan. So Pakistan is like squeezed in right now. That's what I'm looking at right now.
And they have nuclear weapons.
That's true as well. They have nuclear weapon. India has nuclear weapon as well.
We're looking at a population of over 200 million. Uh, Afghanistan has a population of around 26 million, so not quite the same size. But if they take pockets on, if they do come across the border and take the northern part of Pakistan, that where the Pashtuns are, that Adam's referring to, then you can see that that would it would be the beginning of the end for Pakistan. So we need to pray. There's an awful lot at stake here in that part of the world.
But my friend Jay, I am telling you the same thing. These people support Taliban. They want Sharia. How can you do something? How can you save somebody who wants to go to hell? Like, dude, I'm at loss. They want Sharia. They want women to be snubbed. Uh, because this is a beautiful place. I took my wife there as a visit up north because it's a beautiful place. It's like full of beautiful mountains and rivers and all that. So we went on a vacation there. My wife could not take out the chadri from her face inside the car because as soon as her chadri will get out of her face, somebody is going to start staring like hell. And it's not like a stare, like you'll stare for a few seconds and you'll turn your face away. No, they will keep on staring at you like an X-ray until you remove your chadri on your face again. This is the culture. I've seen it first-handedly. So because I'm from a metropolitan city, my wife don't do burki. She does the full head covering, but not the burki. But over there, she had to do the burki, like the whole face, only the eyes. So they want all that. How can you stop that? Right? Unless you give them Jesus, unless you give them the true God who does not want all this BS. Excuse my French, please. But as a Christian, I don't see my wife the way I used to see my wife before. As like, I don't want to expose more, but like I was a bad person, quite frankly. Let's just put it this way.
Thank God for the work of the Holy Spirit. I do want to show you something that's kind of in line with what you just said, there, Adam, because there was a article in the New York Times. Unfortunately, I don't like the New York Times. In fact, I hate them. But unfortunately, I'm dependent on them for information, and I trust them sometimes more than I trust some of the other sources. But this is what somebody wrote. It's too early to comment on the subject. We need to know much more. Fatma Jaliani, an Afghan government negotiator who's involved in continuing peace talks with the Taliban. One thing is certain. It is about time that we learn how to rely on ourselves. Women in Afghanistan are totally different now. They are a force in our country. No one can deny them their rights or status. Now that made me happy. That made me excited. They say that women are different. Is that true, or is it just New York Times propaganda?
Jay, would you like me to answer? Will you answer this?
I'm laughing at that. I think this is ridiculous. I don't think this was written in April. You're saying? Yeah, that sounds like bluster. And
this was in today's paper.
And I'll remind you that this is this is bluster that I think is going to be dangerous for women to be saying that, because obviously everything now is changed. Listen, we thought the Afghan army had 3 times the number of soldiers as the Taliban. Why did they acquiesce so quickly? How did it all unravel in just 3 days in the context of Kabul? They're saying 10 days now, and I would suggest that this has that we're talking about a totally different standard. These women who have been talking are living in Kabul. They're living in Kandahar. They are living in cities where they were protected, where they were given an awful lot of freedoms. Those freedoms are now going to be eradicated. If this wasn't so, why are those robotic women trying to leave Afghanistan? Why aren't they staying? I think they all know. Why was there such panic at the airport? Everybody knows that this is going to change now. And we're going to see in Afghanistan, I hope not in Pakistan, but certainly in Afghanistan, we're going to see a movement back to the 7th century standards, that 7th century environment.
You know, there was another, this one really, it broke my heart when I read it, that this girl, she said, I was born in 2004. I'm a high school student and I'm learning. I want to be a chemist. And she says, I've never lived under Taliban. You know, I have no idea what Sharia law.
Yeah.
And she doesn't. You're right.
American occupation, kind of.
Yeah.
I think Hussein is breaking up.
What were you saying there, Adam?
Hussein, I'm going to have to leave. It's now 12 o'clock and I have to be up at 6 to teach all day tomorrow. So I've got a big day ahead of me. But I do want to thank you for bringing me on board. Adam, it's great to meet you. I'd love to do some more work with you in the future. We'll have to keep in touch. Hussein, if you could give me Adam's email and his particulars, I'd like to keep in touch with him, because I think we need like you, Adam, because you've been there, you understand it, you will understand the culture more than the rest of us, and therefore we need to have your perspective on this.
Sure, brother. Praise Lord. It will be my honor.
Okay. God bless you both. This is Jay.
Thank you so much.
Here in Central America.
So much, brother.
Over now.
Thank you. Dios te bendiga.
Yes,
wow, it was great to have him. Thank you for coming on, Adam.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, brother, and allowing me to share this. And like, seriously speaking, Pakistan needs deliverance. It needs deliverance. It needs deliverance out of Islam. And basically, when Imran Khan came up, quite frankly, I was very hopeful. I was one of those guys who actually went out and voted for him. I was the guy who was in full support of Imran Khan. But what happened is that he married a alima now, and he became one of those stupid, foolish people who he was not. So Pakistan is going backwards instead of forward, and that's where the problem is. No, Emmanuel, seriously speaking, Imran Khan is not the same Imran Khan that he was. You need to understand that fact. When we were supporting him, he did not marry this Burkini girl. Rather, he was married to Jemima Khan. He was westernized, and I wanted a sissified Islam.
Sorry, bro.
No, I wanted to show it, but we'll show it later. But like and then he married a woman, and then he divorced the second woman, which was still fine, not too good, but fine. Now the third one, she is taking Imran Khan backwards. Like, she made Imran Khan travel like 40 years back. 40 years back. That's what she did. And this is the video that I was showing, that the local people, they love Taliban.
You want to play this?
Yeah, sure, if you want to.
The Taliban have ruled that expired food was forbidden. If they find expired food in my shop, they give me a fine. I think it's better to live in Taliban territory. In government-controlled areas, you can't travel after nightfall or stay open late. It's too dangerous. Here, my shop is open till 8 p.m., and I'm not the least bit worried. As for women, they can come into my shop even if they're not accompanied by a man. They just have to wear a burqa, and the Taliban won't stop them.
In the 2 days we spent in Omar Khail, we never saw a single woman in the market.
The way of the Muslim is not worried about political alliances. We are worried about establishing the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the ard.
Man,
Before, we couldn't drive our stock out of the city. The road was too dangerous. We had to make detours. Now everything is calm. When the Taliban arrived, they encouraged us to go to the mosque. They sent letters signed by a religious scholar which said that we were to tell them if our neighbors or friends didn't go and pray at the mosque. And then they'd go and pay them a visit.
wow.
Brother, what do you say?
Okay, I think it's a system that really works great as long as you obey everything the Taliban tells you. And if you're not a woman, and you obey everything the Taliban tells you, it is a great system, really.
Exactly, and it's an Islamic system, and that's what it is. The reality speaks for itself, and that's what I say, that even the Westerner imams, if you play from here now,
Oh,
you'll see even Ibn Fuban proclaiming the same thing but sugarcoating it.
okay.
To be worshipped. We worry about eradicating, I mean Muslims, like, not everybody the title, but a Muslim, right? We want shirk to finish in the world, right? But many Muslims, because the weakness of iman, they're not worried about shirk anymore. They see shirk, they're like, so what's wrong with that? It's
That's
okay.
us.
They see somebody, he's gay, so what? He's this, so what?
How is shirk related to gayship? So basically you see the word eradicated, then he said, oh, we are talking only about Muslim who would eradicate, but like he slipped his tongue by saying the word eradicated for the mushrikeen and the ones who do shirk, and then he combined shirk with gayism because he said, oh, I am in the Western mosque, I am in California, I have to change, and he changed the verdict and became gayship. But like their basic theology is the same. Now look what the Taliban says.
What does that bother me? Where's my political alliance? No. This is not the way of the Muslim. The way of the Muslim is not worried about political alliances. We are worried about establishing the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the ard.
What does that mean?
This is what it means.
The Sharia, the Islamic law, applies to all, from the layman to the most powerful leader. That's how we administer justice. As far as the Taliban emirate reaches, the lives and belongings of people are safe. We are at war. But in the village, you'll see that we've...
Just because I heard this yesterday, they said the same thing yesterday to, I think, to a British reporter. They said, as wherever Taliban reaches, their lives and property are protected. That's exactly what Muhammad said. He said, I've been commanded to fight until the people say there's no God but Allah, Muhammad. And those who do it, their lives and property will be safe from me. And he said, in Arabic, it was, A'asamu minni dima'ahum wa amwalahum. They saved their life and money from me. That's what Muhammad said. And that's what these guys, it's amazing how these guys, I've heard them only in 2 days have I been listening to them. And in the 2 days, 2 times I've heard them use those exact same words. I've been commanded to fight. Wow.
Dude, they do not say anything against Islam. They say everything what is in the fiqh, what is in the Sharia, what is in the ahadith, what is in the Quran. They are the most knowledgeable Muslimin that you could ever meet. You cannot win a debate in Islam with them. You cannot.
Wow.
Do you want me to play a little further?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Schools, agricultural programs, cool storage for the fruits and
Let's check
vegetables.
this out.
We are worried about establishing the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, haqq of Allah. Check the haqq of Allah.
The way of the Muslim is not worried about political alliances. We are worried about establishing the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the ard.
Allah yustar. In
So,
78.
haqq of Allah, what is haqq of Allah? This is the haqq of Allah. Check this out.
The third man is accused of spending too much money on his son's engagement party, a punishable offense according to Taliban law.
What's your name?
My name is Haji Pashamir.
Do you know why you've been called to appear in front of the commission?
My son is a Taliban fighter, and I was celebrating his engagement.
Your son is a Taliban, not you.
Yes, but I was celebrating my son's engagement, and he's a Taliban.
Being a Taliban doesn't give him any additional rights. On the contrary, people like him or even myself should be punished even more severely than other people, because the Taliban's mission is to do jihad for the love of Allah. So if instead they cause problems for other people, or if they fail to prevent wrongdoing, then they should be punished very severely.
Yes, I agree with the witnesses. I don't deny that it ever happened. But originally, we'd only invited 6 people. Then the in-laws suggested that my son invite more people, more women. And my son agreed. I wasn't even there during the discussion, and now everything's on my shoulders. I know that we must abide by the law of the emirate. I love the emirate, and my son is a fighter of the emirate.
So, let me give you the answer. They use the translation as woman. It's like dokhtar. Dokhtar means daughters, sister. So he invited 6 people. He was supposed to invite 6 people, but the son-in-law, his son's in-law people, they said no. We need more women to be present over there. Means dokhtars the betiyan. For him, they are daughters to be present over there more. So he invited more people in the engagement, in the marriage ceremony of his son. That is a punishable offense, Brother Steve.
Wow. You know, I don't know if you want. You know, yesterday I played a video by Linda Sarsour, and I just kind of did it for contrast. I think Emmanuel was with me, and you know, and she's saying, in America, the Islamophobia industry is so strong, and they want to make you afraid of the word Sharia. You know, but Sharia, all Sharia means is that you fast, 30 days for Ramadan, and then you pray 5 times a day. Nobody has a right to tell me how to practice my religion. And I'm thinking, dude, what about the rest of Sharia? What about the fact that you have to kill me because Muhammad said, "Ben baddal dino fa uqtilu," And then when you see stuff like this, and I bet you that guy who said that, he said, you know what, I should be punished more harshly, but because he's not going to be punished. The one who's going to be punished is this guy's son, or this guy himself is going to be punished. Do you know what happened after this?
No, I do not know what happened after this, but I know what happened in Pakistan during my wedding. In Pakistan, we had the partial Sharia as well, and I could not invite more than 200 people. And if I would invite more than 200 people in my wedding, or I would have more than one main course in the wedding, it's a 400,000 rupees fine plus 24 hours in jail.
Wow.
So that's Pakistani law. So imagine the Sharia, whether it's in Pakistan, the difference is little. You need to understand the difference is little. So when it is more Sharia, okay, maybe 50 people. 6 is too little. I don't know how they get 6. Maybe because of the marriage ceremony of Fatima and Ali, where they had only 6 people. But like, listen to what they're saying. Check this out.
So what? Those 2 over there are fighters, and we've just disarmed them.
If it's proven that I've broken the law, I'm ready to be hanged rather than receive a lighter sentence.
You say that you're ready to accept any type of punishment?
Yes, I'm ready, but under one condition, that I'm not found guilty without proof.
Understood. We will continue our investigation.
The religious erudites and combatants of the emirate discussed this issue and concluded that people should spend less money. Because in Islam, according to Sharia, extravagance is a sin, and acts that go against Islam must be avoided.
So, any comment, brother?
Dude, it's just like it's so scary, man. I mean, I showed these pictures to Jay, but look, I don't know if you've seen this picture. Have you seen this? These two guys were thieves, and look what they did to their faces. They first of all tarred them. They put tar on their faces so that they're black. They paraded them in the town, and I'm afraid they cut their hands off.
They would. Let's watch. Let's see. There you go.
One of the great kings and conquerors of the Muslims, much later on, you have Ahmed Shah Abdali and you have Mahmud al-Ghaznavi and these people who conquered India. And when they conquered India, they took a lot of gold and statues and things, and every time they were offered to sell them. The Hindus would say, sell them to us. And alhamdulillah, they didn't. They broke them, but they didn't sell them. Because they said, we don't want to be remembered in history as the sellers of idols. We want to be remembered as those that broke the idols.
Today, just like yesterday, all Taliban decisions must be in harmony with Islamic law. Whether it be stoning to death, decapitation, or mutilation of the hand, these are strong principles of Islam. They're strong principles of Sharia, and we will never change them until Judgment Day.
There you go, brother. You know what happened to those guys whose faces are black?
I just want to show it again because I want everybody's heart to break. You guys, look at these two young guys. They stole something. They were paraded through town, and there's a video of the parade. And and they're called thieves. And I bet anything they had their hands cut off.
You already know. The guy already said that. Yeah. He's the guy of the tribal chief. He said it. We will decapitate their hands. So they first made a scene out of these people.
Yeah.
And then they will going to just, yeah, that's it.
Look at these young kids. Look at these young kids, you guys. Look at these I mean, they're young men. They're not like, they're going to live the rest of their lives without a hand, possibly a foot. It's just heartbreaking, man. I mean, I just think of these kids. They're little kids, man. I mean, they're not little kids. They're young men, but compared to me, I'm 60. These guys don't look like they're 20 or maybe even in their teens.
That's the reality, brother. You can't run away from it. Check this out then. Watch if you want heartbroken thing.
If your niyyah is for your qawm, for your people, and you're sincere, you're not worried about filling your own pockets, then Allah will give you that, but then you have nothing in the akhirah. But if your niyyah is for Allah, Allah will bring you the wealth. Allah will bring you the honor. Allah will bring you the glory. But Allah will save the best, the reward for the akhirah as well. So those that do it for money, you will see. Somebody will go and put a lot of money in, and governments will give you money and you will take that money, but you will never find success.
This year, we were able to export our fruits to Pakistan, but usually we sell them in Kabul. The Taliban don't cause any problems. On the contrary, they even help out with my business. Here in the Taliban Emirate, you can travel by night or day. You can carry money without any worries. The danger lies mostly on the road to Pakistan. The Taliban belong to this countryside. They know how to cultivate the land.
Each year, the Taliban collect 10% of the crops, a practice called oshar. It's an Islamic tax imposed on farmers, which the insurgents use to fund their activities.
It's a religious duty. I give between 27,000 and 30,000 Afghanis per year for oshar. It depends on the crops. If business is good, I pay more. If it's bad, I pay less.
30,000 Afghanis, that's 300 euros. A large sum in a country where half of the population lives under the poverty line.
You do realize that ushar you have to pay, and then whether you are, it's not like zakat that it has to be on the saving, it has to be on the earning. Whether you are filling your stomach and your family's stomach or not, you have to pay 10%, right?
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
really?
that's the reality, and that's how they're getting the money from these, and that is why the villages are more. Most of the Afghan people, what are they doing? They are making crops, and
It-
these people have their hands on the crops.
did you see this right here? Taliban demands girls above 15, widows under 45 to be married to their fighters.
So that's what Islam says. What's the difference? Why are you
Surprised.
surprised? Yeah. Why are you surprised? Haven't we done so many videos on that part?
Yes. But to see it coming to pass in front of our eyes with real human beings,
What
and
do you mean by that? Like you think that the 7th century people, 8th century people, 9th century people, 10th century people were not real human beings? Come
yeah,
on, Steve, brother. I, I'm sorry, but like they were also real human beings.
yeah, you're right.
We knew that this is happening. I have the friend John Isaac, who comes out of Egypt. He
Yeah.
know first-handedly what happened. So, like, but this is what Ibn Fuban is saying as well in the West. That is why I'm doing the comparison analysis. Check this out, what he says next, and you will see what will happen to the woman.
And he was a brave man, an intelligent man, and he saw that these people from Habasha had conquered their land and had violated their women, they had raped and plundered and taken their wealth and enslaved their men. And he had a ghira, and he had this sense that this is wrong. And this is the people of ghira, and people that don't have ghira, then they don't care who rules over them. They just want to make their money, they just want to submit and be safe and be safe, quote unquote. And they don't care. But the people of Ghira, they don't allow it. And amongst the Muslims as well, when we see the kafir enter the lands, the people of Ghira, they will not stand for it. And
Kafir enter the land of the people of Ghaira means the
We won't.
Muslimin who has Ghaira, they will not stand for it. And Ghaira
Ghira,
means Ghairat.
yeah.
Ghairat. So English, make English, buddy.
Ghira means people of zeal, people who are zealous for their land and for their religion.
For their woman. He's talking about the woman right now.
And,
Woman. He's talking about woman. Now check what if a Muslim woman would do something, what is your Ghaira wants to do. Check this out.
they will continue to strive and struggle until they're free.
The Taliban take pride in their supposedly egalitarian society, but women remain the first victims of their cruelty. Shortly before we arrived in the countryside of Herat, where we filmed part of this report, a young woman was publicly flogged by a Taliban judge. Her crime, indecency. She had, allegedly, spoken on the phone with a boy. If this woman had been married, she would likely have been stoned to death. In Omar Khail, the district governor would have convicted her in the same way.
So she was beaten in front of everyone. I'm sorry, Steve, that you have to witness that. But she was beaten in front of everyone because apparently, allegedly, she had spoken with a boy over phone. That's the ghaira. That's the zeal. Spoken over the phone, brother. Not even physically. Not face to face. Not touching. Not showing their face. Over phone.
Father, oh, that's heartbreaking, man. That's just unbelievable, man. Adam, since I got you here, I'm just, I got to end this here, but I just want to play that Linda Sarsour video again because
Really? She is the most hypocrite liar when it comes to Islam.
I know it, but I think it's important to. It's even from care. It's even from care. But I just want to show it because to show she's living in the the warmth of America and the freedom of America. And listen to what she says.
When we
Oh,
say
you're
Sharia
welcome.
law, you're saying law. But anyway. So I actually got caught in a controversy about this, which is, yeah, it means law. So technically, when we say Sharia law, you're saying law. But anyway. So I actually got caught in a controversy about this, which is why I'm happy to answer this question. At the same time, 8 years ago, when the Oklahoma state legislator was trying to ban Sharia, this really monstrous thing.
It's really monstrous.
I was.
She's saying like it's sarcastically. This really
Exactly.
monstrous thing. It is really a monstrous thing.
In New York City, and we were basically we had a social media campaign trying to basically explain what Sharia was. And so I got into controversy at the Women's March because then these trolls went back 8 years ago and pulled out tweets out of context and sequence, because that's what they do.
Yeah, anyway, I can't stand listening to her right now. But anyway, that's
Brother, you have already seen Sharia first-handedly that is happening there. I don't know what more proofs do you need to see, but when we talk about these people who proclaim Islam in the West, they are lying from their stomach, from their whatever. Hell on earth, why people follow. Dude, Manoj, you can't even. Manoj Kumar, wow, we have an Indian brother over here. You can't even comprehend what their ideology is. And if you are brought up in the West, you cannot comprehend their ideology. I have been brought up in Pakistan. I first-handedly know what they say in the mosques, what they proclaim in the mosque. These Westerners will actually say, hey, Pakistan is not even Islamic, they don't know the true Islam. Dude, you guys are BSing. They everything they say, they back up. But when you say something, you don't back up. Islam is, Pakistan is, imagine, Steve brother, how many Islamic scholars do you see which have some kind of a root from Pakistan or India or Sri Lanka or somewhere like that?
this is this is the new front. I mean, they are more knowledgeable and more involved than like the Arab, even though the Quran is in Arabic.
Exactly. So if you see the speaker's corner, that old guy, and I've made a small video on that old guy as well. He's Pakistani. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. Excuse me for that. The Ali Dawa has some roots from Pakistan as well. Shabir Ali has roots from Pakistan or the same area. There is a Ahmad guy who is a white beard guy, um, who has an English channel. He has roots from there. Abbas has roots from there. Like you pick any name right now, like 80% of them and Uthman, Sheikh Uthman, Ibn Farooq, he's Pakhtun. He comes from Peshawar or area near Peshawar, Pakhtun. So pick any major known person who is debating Christians or who is supposedly giving dawa, they have roots from Pakistan. They have roots from Pakistan. What does that tells you? And when these scholars say Pakistan doesn't have the true Islam, then remove all of your scholars. Remove them. Throw them in the bin. You don't throw them in the bin. And yet you say, I challenge each and every Islamic scholar in the West who has Pakistani root to come and have a debate with me to prove me that Pakistan does not have the true Islam. Pakistan does not have the true Sharia. Yes, I will fully agree. But what they proclaim in the mosque is true, because Pakistan has major cities where Islam is sissified, and they do not allow the mullahs to come up in power. And the mullahs in Pakistan are mostly corrupt. And I fully agree with you on that. But when it comes to proclaiming the Islamic things in the mosques, it is 100% correct. They back it up. Everything that I have heard from these mullahs, when these people even say that it is not Sahih, if you look at it, it is Sahih because of the certain books which calls them Sahih and certain books does not call them Sahih.
Wow. Well,
But anyhow, yeah, what is this? Brother Sahih ibn Lavash is saying?
that woman got beat for using a phone to talk to a guy, but I'd have been seeking the truth, Holy Bible on that phone. The beating probably would have been the same, though. Yeah, he's saying he was talking on the phone to learn about the Bible. He would have got the same beating. Yeah.
Okay, if I don't even fully comprehend the
I
point.
don't completely, but I think he's a Christian, judging by what he's saying. So, anyway, we've been on here now for an hour and a half, and dude, um, dude, it was like this is hard. It's just heartbreaking, man. Thank you for showing us that video. It was so painful to watch, but it's so necessary.
XY is saying exactly. They are mostly all known Arabic. Yes, absolutely XYZ. And secondly, let me tell you something. The books that you do not have translated into English, 70% of them are actually translated into Urdu. So you will not find certain books which are translated into English, but you will find the same books are actually translated into Urdu. So imagine why. Because in the
Oh,
18th century and 19th century, they have translated them into Urdu. I- I- Out of Kitabus Sitta, there are so many books that have never been translated into English, but you will find them in Urdu. I have them in Urdu. I have a book that I was reading the other day, and it is according to the Maliki school thought. And they were describing there were at least 60 pages, and we can go through that book someday whenever you like, Steve. And they were
yeah,
describing
like
in those 50, 70 pages, only one thing. Steve, imagine what they were describing. They were describing if a person has married a Saghira girl means a girl who is on breastfeeding.
say that again.
If a person has married a Saghira girl, a girl who is on breastfeeding,
We're still breastfeeding
who is still breastfeeding
from her mother. Wow.
from her mother, and if you marry a woman who's breastfeeding and your wife gives her milk, so you have two wives. One is a baby wife, child baby wife, who is on breastfeeding, and somehow your wife, the elder wife, will give her her own milk. Who will be divorced? They both will be, if they are, because they both becomes sisters. Sorry, mother and daughter, and you cannot have mother and daughter in the same wedlock. What if you have two Saghira women as your wives, and you have one elder wife, and your elder wife give milk to both of them? What if they give both of the milk to both of them together in one go, means from one breast and the other breast at the same time? What
Oh,
is the consequence of your marriage to all three of them? And if she gives milk to them one by one, what is the consequence on the marriage at that particular time? And what if you have three Saghira wives and one elder wife? And what if your mother will give the milk to those Saghira wives of yours, and so on and so forth? 70 pages approximately on
wow.
just this law.
That is unbelievable, man.
And it's an Arabic book. of Sharia from the Imam Malik school of thought, and they are describing that.
Wow.
It's amazing. When I was reading it, I was getting furious. Like, if Muslims are saying right now in the 21st century that you cannot marry a child bride, but if you look at your books, they explain in detail how a child wife might not become your wife if your mother has given milk, or your sister has given milk to her, or your elder wife has given milk to her. So if child marriage is not even allowed, what is the purpose of writing all of this?
That
You
is
see the
so,
problem?
it is like, I got no words for it, man.
And then they actually show you, then they actually talk about, not show you, talk about the waiting period, the idda of these
Yeah.
Sagira wives.
Yeah.
The idda of these Sagira wives. And then they actually carry on in showing that if you have a wife who is pregnant and marries to another person, because the pregnancy can last up to 2 years. How many years, brother? 2 years.
Hey, Mohammed's mother was pregnant for 4.
Yeah, but like 2 years, that's Malaki. So Hanafi, I think, probably. So anyhow, so what is going to happen? So imagine, brother, and it is 9 volume. So what I'm saying is simple, brother. There are so many books which are in Urdu, the Pakistani language, which you will not be able to find in any other language other than Urdu language, and Arabic, obviously, because Arabic is in which they were written. By the way, you are cooking spaghettis and everyone is looking at you and they are getting tempted and their tongues are out. And I am talking about some really nice things about Islam, and they all want to see what you are cooking.
I'm sorry, man. It's like, I did this the other day with Sam. Sam and Osama Dukduk. I was cooking the whole time. And Sam said, we just got a comedy show here. Sorry, you guys, I had to cook my food before it gets too late. But, Adam, the only book I ever see people talking about in English, Sharia book, is the Reliance of the Traveler.
Now, I'm not talking about a Sharia book. I'm actually talking about a book of uh, fiqh.
Oh, fiqh.
This is fiqh. This is jurisprudence. This is fiqh. This is not Sharia.
Yeah.
So without fiqh, you do not have. So fiqh provides the evidence for the Sharia. So for the viewers who are listening, fiqh is the ruling on which the law is implemented. So fiqh is the basic, and based on that fiqh, you have the law. The law means the punishment or etc. etc.
Oh,
So
okay, the verdict.
yeah, exactly. So the verdict comes when you have a if you do not have the rulings, like what is what, how will the Sharia be implemented?
Implemented, right.
So this is the book of fiqh, so that you will actually have, once you have the book of fiqh, then you can apply the Sharia.
Wow. Can you send me some of that?
I can send you the whole book. I can send you all 9 volumes of it in English. It's in English. Sorry, in Arabic, because obviously you can't read Urdu.
Yeah.
But I will send you the Arabic version of it,
Okay.
and I will show you exactly where you actually need to go to see it.
Yeah, if you could, just because my Arabic reading is a little bit slow, so.
And Ida said, Adam says it again. What did I said, brother? I have no idea. And Rob said, I will never become a Muslim.
Thank God, man.
So Steve, can you please remove this text from the screen,
Oh,
because I'm go- so b- the ending, I'm gonna give you some nice ending, because that's what the ending that I did on my
could
stream
you,
as well.
could you make it an ending that I could eat dinner afterwards?
Yeah, you'll eat dinner afterwards. That's a guarantee. So let me just do something for everyone so that everyone will like it as well, because I know it's it's demonic, man. It's demonic.
You know, it's like I think I've been in mourning for the last 2 days just for the girls of Afghanistan. You know,
Man,
and
you seriously can't do much about it, And I would say that partially it's the fault of their own family, that they did not stand up for that. Uh, you know, call me whatever, but it's it's very, very problematic when your own family wants that Sharia. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, but I wonder if they're just scared. I wonder if they're just scared.
Okay. Scared? I don't think so. You have seen what they are saying. I've shown you the video.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you know, and there was another guy that said what you said today. You know, he said that the problem is that a lot of people do want the Sharia. You know, a,
Exactly.
a huge percentage
That's
of the
what I
people.
was showing.
Yeah, that's what you were saying, and you know, he said that. He said, I mean, I read that earlier today, and he just said, you know, one of the big problems we have is a lot of the people want the Sharia, and not the people who have tasted freedom, or the girl, like that girl who's never known anything about Sharia until.
Dude, they are the people who does not want are maybe 20%, because they are the ones who are living in the
Cities.
in the metropolitan cities. The
Yeah.
rest of the 80%, dude, whether you agree with me or not, I am fully convinced that they want it. I'm fully convinced that they want it. And by the way, the Talibans are so good when it comes to using equipment. Check this out. There you go. You can play it whenever you can. That would be the end of it. They are using the equipment which they actually took over.
Oops. Oh, just 1 second here. My finger got wet. Sorry about that.
And after that, I am actually going as well.
Okay. Sorry, man. Dude, what's going on here? Satan is fighting. Dude, what the heck? What is going on here? I'm getting all these old things. Okay, let me just close this. We'll get this up here again. Okay, let's put this up. Yeah. Sure, this isn't one of the YouTube videos.
Check the pull-ups, man. Pull up. Check the pull-ups. Yeah, there you go. That's a pull-up. Uh-huh. They got the free stuff, man. They're using it.
Yeah, hold on. Father,
Oh, man.
dude. Well, I think we're going to be having a lot of very sad stuff to look at the next couple coming days, man. You know, and
Dude, I'm a bit afraid for Pakistan for sure. I don't know
you
what's
are.
gonna happen.
Well, you know what? What that guy wrote, he said that You see, I haven't thought about Pakistan that way before, but he says it is so fragile.
Yep.
It could fall, and then
Exactly.
to the Taliban.
Mhm.
Do you think it could fall to the Taliban?
There is a if you so once again, this is my opinion,
Yes.
and I'm not a prophet, but there is an 80% chance that Pakistan will fall into that, and the military will have to they will have to do military usage inside their country to stop them, and that's the situation. Like they will have to use military force inside the country once again, which they did approximately 15 years ago, and they will have to do that again. But
Against the
this time,
Taliban.
oh yes, against the Taliban, and this time around, they will not have. They will. They will not be able to fully succeed. I personally think that this time around they will not be able to fully succeed like last time they were able to, because last time we had a military commander as a president, prime minister of Pakistan, right? So he was a military journal. He was able to do and manage a lot. Right now what we have in the government is not strong. Imran Khan is a is man, I loved that guy, quite frankly, and now it's so hard to say otherwise about him. But now things will be in a very different way, and even the general right now that we have in Pakistan, he's not a very strong guy. This general is not very strong. uh, this war, this inter and right now Pakistan is at the verge of economical collapse already. The prices are so high. They still have to give the loan back to the IMF, and they have raised taxes. The people are already hating the government. They have started to hate it because of the taxes and everything. So now, when you have the influx coming from the Afghanistan, and you will have two type of influx coming in. One type of people who wants to have support because they are running away from Taliban. The second type of people are actually Taliban, and the ones who are running away from Taliban, they have lived in not a very good way. They want to have certain type of Sharia implemented as well still, even though not fully Sharia, but certain level of Sharia as well, which is far more than what Pakistan can afford at this time if they want to survive. So, all in all, Pakistan is in a very, very fragile situation.
That's exactly what that guy said, and he even used that word. He says the fragility of Pakistan with their nuclear weapons is, you know, uh,
Mm.
you know the the way he said it. He said I could tell you what he said again, just because what he says. Now it'll be possible that Afghanistan will become a sanctuary for taking the war to Pakistan. Potentially a nightmare scenario given Pakistan's fragility, large population, nuclear arsenal, and history of war with India.
So, dude, that's the thing. Like, imagine when Pakistan has internal issues. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. India starts to invade the borders.
Oh.
So, there is a huge border in the up north, in the Kashmir region, which is connected with India. Okay. And like literally speaking, you would see from the road, you would see a river, and across the river is India. And I've been there myself personally, and I've seen the bullet holes on this side of the wall. So they would use machine guns to start shooting because there are army checkposts over there on the road at different locations at different mile levels, and they have machine guns literally. You like when you are driving on that road, you would see You would see machine guns after machine guns after every few tens of miles, like 10 miles. You would see that, and they would have gunfights over there, and the walls has bullet holes. You can literally see the bullet hole with your naked eye.
Wow.
And rocket launcher attacks and all that, because it's just 40-50 feet long river that is separating them. But the river is crazy river. You can't just swim in that river. It's like nearly, it's not possible. Like it's the bad river, where the mountain rivers are.
Oh yeah.
It's that kind of a river. But once again, with the military expertise, and you can maybe hook the rope with something, you can cross. But like, once again, they don't need to cross. What they need to do is to just shoot bullets and rocket launcher attacks, and they do that. So they start doing that on that front. And on certain locations, you have crossable bridges, and in those crossable bridges, you have their side and you have your side, and you have army on the both side of the bridges. And I have been to the edge of the bridges myself, with the army hanging the white flag and all. It is crazy. I have seen it. If you want to take a picture on the bridge, you literally have to inform the Indian side. The Indian side will have to inform you. One of their guy will come up holding the white flag. They will go out holding the white flag, and you will be escorted with army to go to the bridge to take a picture.
Wow.
You'd say, why would you ever want to take a picture there? So don't ask me this question, okay? I've done many stupid things. This is one of them. but but yeah, this is how easy it is to cross the border. And I have seen first-handedly our guns, their guns, like guns, not that guns, the top guns, like, what do you call it? The big gun which doesn't have a bullet but bomb. What do you call it?
Oh, rocket
Like in,
launchers.
no, not the launchers, the other kind of top. In the, it's not like the
Oh,
Second World War, but in the
yeah.
Second World War you have the tank and a tank killing top. Yeah,
mortar.
kind of that. Yeah, but like much bigger, which is on wheels.
Yeah.
So I have
Cannons.
seen them. Cannons, yes. So I've seen cannons on everywhere. Like, this is the living style of Kashmir. Uh, that's how it is. You
Wow.
can't run away from this subject. And so
But
when the Afghans will invade from the other side, this Indian side is already very fragile. So Pakistan is in the middle. What is the last resort for Pakistan to do if India will do that?
do you think
Release the nuclear.
nuclear? Yeah.
That's the last choice, and that's what's going to happen.
Do you think they will?
Sorry?
Do you think they will?
Let me ask you this question in another way. If you have 10 dogs on one side trying to kill you, and you are trying to save yourself from the dogs with a knife, and suddenly you see from the other side 2 cheetahs came up, and the only thing after a knife you have is a bomb, and if you will not blast that bomb, you will die a miserable death. What will you do? Will you blow up that hand grenade when every cheetah and tiger is attacking you? So that while you are dying a miserable death by them eating you, you'll blow up yourself, and you'll blow up the cheetahs and
Yeah.
the dogs and everyone with you. And if Pakistan will come into this kind of a situation, they will going to do that.
Yeah. And
Because
what?
they'll be like, and they have said that, certain military commanders have said that if India will do such a thing, we will not go down alone. We will take them with us. And that means they will send in the nuclear arsenal.
That reminds me of what Israel, Israel has what's called the Samson option. And I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the Samson option is, excuse me a sec. The Samson option is what Samson said, when he was with the Philistines. He said,
Drop
let
the
me die.
pillar.
Let me die with my enemies.
Mhm.
And so Israel's, if they have to go down, they have their nuclear weapons. They'll take everybody with them. That sounds very similar to what Pakistan and the Bible describes in the book of Revelation. There's many passages about the sun being darkened, about the day being shortened, a third of the day, about the rivers being poisoned, about the water being poisoned, about the trees being burned. All of those sound like nuclear. It sounds nuclear to me.
Man. But anyhow, that's all about it, brother. I seriously, I
Thank
am scared
Thank-
of Pakistan's future, quite frankly. Not of not because of not of Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is far too gone already. There's a level where God is going to help or protect, but then there's a level where God says, "Okay, go be it," you know.
Yeah.
And but when we talk about Pakistan has not reached that level. Still, there is a lot of population who would, but at the same time, yes, these are the same people who would blaspheme the most. Who would so my criteria and God's criteria are definitely different to look at it. So yeah,
Well, brother, we're going to be doing a prayer meeting on Friday night. It'll be at 7:00, from 7
awesome.
to 8, and it's going to be just this week. And it would be great if you could be with us. It'd be from 7 to 8 California time. I'd love to
I will.
have you there. Yeah, if you
Yes.
can, then I'll tell people would love to hear, just a little bit about Pakistan and stuff, and the relationship there, and Taliban and stuff, and so I'm
So
going to invite the whole church to it.
there's a guy named Masihi Muslim, which is basically a abomination in the name already. How can you be a Masihi and a Muslim?
Yeah, that's what I don't
But
understand. Yeah.
anyhow, he says no way will Pakistan use the nuke weapons. The guys who control that part are not extremists.
Well, the thing is, that's what the guy is saying, is that the Taliban, because they're so unstable, so fragile, that the Taliban could take over, but let's pray that doesn't happen.
And they will do it if they are threatened from both horizons. Pakistan does not have enough army force to deploy it in-house, means inside the country for Taliban, as well as able to protect their borders from India. So if they leave Taliban and go to the border, then Taliban control the whole country. If they do not leave the Taliban, then India gets into the country. So, like I said, if one side has cheetahs, the other side has dogs, and you are dying, and if you have after knife, the only thing that you have is a hand grenade, you will blow up the hand grenade. So it's not that they are not extremists. It's not that they don't have the guts. It's all what matters is, do they have any other choice? That's what
Yeah.
matters at that time. And
All
by the
right,
way,
brother. Well,
Masihi Muslim, if you are a Christian, I think it's about time that you should change your name. This is a hypocrisy and it's an abomination to your name that you call yourself Masihi Muslim. And
yeah.
if you are a Muslim, come up and have a talk, and I will explain you how it is an abomination, because it is an abomination.
He came on while Jay was with me, and Jay said he didn't want to change the subject and talk to him. So, but all right, brother. Thank you so much, and so God bless you, and
Thank you, brother. God bless you as well. And before I go, Yeshua Akbarul Azim.
hallelujah. I mean, and remember, everybody, Jesus help me, Jesus forgive me, Jesus come into my heart. Jesus help me, Jesus forgive me, Jesus come into my heart. Yesur sa'idni, Yesur samahni, Yesur udkhul qalbi. Thank you, guys. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. Had our biggest crowd ever today. Had 83 people. That's top for me. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much. And if you haven't, please go subscribe to my channel. Get me over 2,000. So have a great night, everybody.